Just sign here. Natalie. Gary tapped the paper like it was a congratulations card. I'd gotten promoted last night and they'd laughed when I opened my bonus envelope. This morning at the credit union counter, I discovered my signature on 3 strange loans. When I refused, Gary yanked my sleeve in the middle of the bank, and for the first time, I saw it clearly. This was all a plan, long in the making, aimed directly at me. They thought I'd stay quiet because family helps family, but I had evidence, witnesses, and a plan to make them destroy their own trap. My name is Natalie Brooks, and until last night, I thought my family's occasional cruelty was just their twisted way of showing love. The Harbor Light restaurant hummed with celebration around 8:30 p.m. My colleagues from Ridge and Arrow Logistics had commandeered the back corner, their voices rising over clinking glasses and the smell of grilled seafood. The envelope sat heavy in my hands, my first real bonus as senior operations manager. After taxes, $4,300. Not life-changing money, but proof that I'd climbed another rung, despite everything. To Natalie, Derek from accounting raised his beer. Finally getting what she deserves. I was mid-laugh when I spotted them near the entrance. Marjorie Bolton, my mother, wore her church smile, the one that fooled everyone except those who knew what lay beneath. Gary Bolton, my stepfather, followed behind, his contractor's hands already reaching for me before he'd crossed half the room. There's our successful daughter. Marjorie's voice carried deliberately, ensuring everyone heard. She air-kissed my cheek, her perfume always too sweet, like rotting flowers making my stomach turn. We couldn't miss celebrating your big promotion. I hadn't invited them, hadn't even told them. Gary's hand landed on my shoulder, fingers digging in just enough to establish control. Let's see that bonus check, kiddo. The term of endearment felt like sandpaper. Must be substantial if they're throwing you a whole party. The envelope crinkled as his fingers found it. I pulled back instinctively, but his grip tightened. Around us, my colleagues watched with the uncomfortable fascination of people witnessing a car accident in slow motion. It's already deposited, I lied, though the check was right there, visible through the torn flap. Promoted to senior management and still living in that rental on Maple Street. Marjorie's laugh tinkled like broken glass. Gary and I were just discussing how we could help you invest properly. Family investment fund. Much better returns than letting it sit in your checking account. Gary had maneuvered himself between me and my colleagues, his bulk blocking any escape route. Smart families pool resources. Natalie, that's how wealth builds. You understand that, right? I'm good, thanks. I tried to keep my voice light, professional. These were my coworkers watching, my reputation. Don't be selfish. The words came out sing-song, but Marjorie's eyes had gone flat. We sacrificed everything for you and Evan. Private schools, college. Now it's time to contribute back. Gary's free hand reached for the envelope again. This time, when I pulled away, his fingers closed around my wrist. The grip looked casual to observers, just a stepfather steadying his daughter. But his thumb pressed into the soft spot between the bones, a trick he'd perfected when I was 15. You already signed the paperwork anyway, he said quietly, leaning close enough that I could smell the bourbon on his breath. 3 loans. Your signature's already on file at Horizon Valley. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. The restaurant noise faded to white static. What loans? The ones you agreed to. Family helping family. Remember, his smile never wavered, but his grip tightened another degree. Now, about this bonus. My brother Evan materialized beside us, phone in hand, recording video of the anniversary cake at the next table, or so it appeared. But I knew my brother. The camera angle caught Gary's hand on my wrist perfectly. Natalie, Sarah's looking for you at the bar, Evan said smoothly. Something about the tab. Gary released me, but not before one final squeeze that would leave fingerprint bruises by morning. We'll discuss this tomorrow. Sweetheart, family breakfast, 9 sharp. They left as suddenly as they'd arrived. Marjorie pausing just long enough to stage whisper to the nearest table. She's always been difficult about money. Gets it from her father's side. I stood frozen, the envelope crumpled in my trembling hand. Around me, the celebration continued, but several colleagues avoided eye contact. Derek mumbled something about getting another round. The party that had felt like validation 20 minutes ago now tasted like ash. "Hey," Evan said quietly, showing me his phone screen. The video was shaky but clear. Gary's grip, my obvious distress, the forced smiles. Whatever they're planning, we'll figure it out. 3 loans, my signature already on file. The bonus check in my hand suddenly felt less like an achievement and more like bait I'd already swallowed. The Horizon Valley Credit Union opened at 9 a.m. sharp. I was waiting when Peter Halbrook unlocked the doors, my stomach churning with coffee and dread. The morning light streaming through the windows felt too bright, too normal for what I was about to discover. "Ms. Brooks, good morning." Peter's professional smile faltered when he saw my expression. "Is everything all right?" "I need to see all accounts under my Social Security number." "Everything." The keyboard clicked rapidly under his fingers. The printer beside his desk hummed to life, spitting out pages with mechanical efficiency. The smell of toner mixed with the lemon-scented cleaner they used on the marble counters, creating an oddly antiseptic atmosphere. "Here we are, your checking, savings, and—" Peter frowned. "These 3 loan accounts opened last month." The papers felt wrong in my hands, too heavy for mere ink and paper. 3 signature loans, $15,000, $18,000, and $25,000. $58,000 total. Each signature line bore my name, but the handwriting was off too careful, like someone tracing a template. "I didn't sign these." My voice came out steadier than expected. "I've never seen these documents before." Peter's frown deepened. He pulled up the original applications on his monitor, adjusting his glasses. The applications were processed by Mitchell Crane. He overrode the standard verification protocols. He did what marked them as verified in person. "That bypasses the usual phone confirmation and secondary ID check." Peter lowered his voice. "Ms. Brooks, this is highly irregular. Mitchell shouldn't have—" The glass doors burst open. Gary strode in like he owned the place, Marjorie trailing behind with her phone already recording. Several customers turned to stare. "There you are, sweetheart." Gary's voice boomed across the lobby. "Ready to sign those additional documents. The Family Investment Fund needs your cooperation." "I'm not signing anything." I kept my voice level. Professional. This was a public space. Witnesses everywhere. Gary reached the counter in 3 strides. His hand shot out, grabbing the loan documents from my hands. "These are family matters. Natalie, not something to air in public. Those are fraudulent documents. I'm filing a report." The change was instant. Gary's face flushed red, veins standing out on his neck. "You ungrateful." His hand clamped onto my forearm, yanking me toward him. "After everything we've done—" "Sir," Peter stood up, alarm clear on his face. "Please release her immediately or I'll call security." Gary yanked harder, pulling me off balance. My hip struck the counter's edge, sending a spike of pain down my leg. "She's my daughter. This is a family discussion." "I'm not your daughter." I tried to pull free, but his contractor's grip was iron. "And this is assault." "You're having another episode," Marjorie announced loudly, ensuring everyone heard. "Just like in college, paranoid delusions. Gary, we should get her help." The security guard had noticed the commotion, moving toward us with purpose. Gary saw him too, with a final violent shake that rattled my teeth. He shoved me backward. I caught myself on the counter, my arm already throbbing. "This isn't over," he hissed. Then louder for the audience, "We're just trying to help her. She's been unstable since her father died." They left quickly, Marjorie still recording, narrating about my mental health crisis for whatever smear campaign she was planning. Peter handed me tissues I hadn't realized I was crying from fury. Not pain. Ms. Brooks, I'm documenting everything. The override, the signatures, this incident. Do you want me to call the police? Not yet. I pulled out my phone, texting Evan, "Get here now. Bring your camera. Document everything." The security guard approached, notebook out. "Ma'am, I saw the whole thing. That man assaulted you. I can provide a written statement." "Please do." I rolled up my sleeve. The bruises were already forming, 5 dark spots where Gary's fingers had dug in. "Peter, I need copies of everything, every document, every timestamp, every override notation." "Mitchell just walked in," Peter said quietly, nodding toward the employee entrance. "Should I call your manager and corporate compliance?" "Mitchell Crane helped them steal $58,000 in my name." The printer resumed its mechanical rhythm, building my evidence page by page. Through the window, I could see Gary's truck still idling in the parking lot, watching, waiting. My phone buzzed. Evan, 5 minutes out, already called Dana Ortiz, best fraud attorney in the state. I pressed ice from the courtesy water station against my arm and smiled grimly at Gary's truck through the window. This wasn't a loan. This was a scheme. And they'd just made their first real mistake leaving witnesses. Dana Ortiz's office occupied the 7th floor of a glass tower downtown, all clean lines and leather-bound law books. She spread the documents across her conference table like a general planning a siege, her manicured fingers tracing patterns I couldn't yet see. "This is sophisticated for amateur criminals," she said, adjusting her tortoiseshell glasses. "But amateurs nonetheless." "Look here." She tapped a credit report printout. "They pulled your credit 17 times in the past 6 months. Each inquiry from different P.O. boxes, all registered to variations of business names." Evan sat beside me, laptop open, cross-referencing dates. "Those align with Natalie's work trips. She was in Dallas for training that week, Portland the next." "Mail diversion," Dana said immediately. "They redirected your mail while you traveled. Classic identity theft tactic, but usually done by strangers, not family." She pulled up another document. "This P.O. box on Riverside Drive, it's registered to Marjorie Bolton. She didn't even use a fake name." The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. Every business trip, every conference, they'd been stealing my mail, learning my financial patterns, building their forgery template. The total damage, I asked, though I dreaded the answer. $58,000 in signature loans. But Dana pulled up banking records. There's unusual activity dating back further. Smaller amounts, credit cards opened and maxed out, then mysteriously paid off just before you'd notice. They've been testing the waters for years. Peter Halbrook knocked and entered, carrying a banker's box. "Ms. Ortiz, Ms. Brooks, I've brought everything corporate compliance found. Mitchell Crane has been placed on administrative leave pending investigation." Dana's eyes sharpened. "Good. We'll need his deposition." "Peter, how many other accounts did Mitchell override verification for? Just these 3, all in the same week?" Peter set down a stack of printouts. "But he received 2 $5,000 deposits to his personal account the day after each loan was approved." "Bribery, federal crime." Dana made notes rapidly. This just became a criminal matter, not just civil fraud. Evan had been quiet, digging through old files on his laptop. Suddenly, he swore. "Natalie, remember Dad's life insurance?" My chest tightened. The $100,000 Mom said it went to pay off the house. I pulled the county records. He turned the screen toward us. The house was paid off 2 years before Dad died. And look. He showed a document from the insurance company. "Beneficiary change form, filed 1 week after your 25th birthday. Changed from you and me to Marjorie solely." "Your signature?" Dana asked. I studied it. The same too careful tracery, like someone working from a template. They've been doing this since I turned 25. 7 years of fraud. Dana began building our war map on the whiteboard. 2 columns, criminal and civil. Criminal charges identity theft, wire fraud, Bank fraud, conspiracy. That's FBI territory with the wire fraud, civil conversion, breach of fiduciary duty, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Can we freeze their assets? I asked. Better. We can put liens on everything they own. House, vehicles, bank accounts. But we need to move fast, before they liquidate and run. Peter cleared his throat. There's more. Mitchell's computer shows email exchanges with Gary Bolton dating back 3 months. They discussed the best time to submit the applications, even mentioned waiting for Ms. Brooks to travel. Dana smiled a shark's smile. Conspiracy with evidence of premeditation. Beautiful. She turned to me. Natalie, I need you to think. Are there any other documents you've signed recently? Anything they could have used as a signature template? I thought back. Christmas cards. No. Wait. Mom had me sign a birthday card for my aunt 6 months ago. Said she forgot to have me sign it at Christmas. There was no aunt, was there? Aunt Linda died 3 years ago. Evan pulled up the email evidence on his laptop, highlighting key phrases. Look at this one from Gary to Mitchell. Use the graduation card signature, it's cleaner, less likely to raise flags. And Mitchell's response, confirmed. The old signature from her high school documents will work better than current samples. Dana stood, energy crackling from her. This is a RICO case, potentially. Racketeering. They created an ongoing criminal enterprise. She looked at me directly. They're going to fight dirty when cornered. Are you prepared for that? They already fight dirty, I said, rubbing my bruised arm. I'm done being their victim. Good, because tomorrow, we file everything. Criminal complaints with the FBI, civil suits in state court, and emergency injunctions to freeze their assets. Dana's smile turned predatory. By tomorrow night, they won't be able to buy a coffee without court approval. The system had left traces everywhere, timestamp trails, IP addresses, override codes, deposit records, every crime etched in permanent digital ink. One more thing, Peter said quietly. Mitchell kept personal notes in his desk calendar. One entry says GB. Says N won't fight back family shame too strong. I stood, anger cold and clear. He was wrong. Evan found the laptop wedged behind winter coats in the hallway closet of our childhood home. We'd entered legally, I still had my key, and technically, no one had formally barred me from the property yet. It was 3:15 p.m. on a Tuesday, when Gary would be at a job site and Marjorie at her book club. His old Dell, Evan whispered, though we were alone. The one he claimed died 2 years ago. The laptop booted slowly, fan whirring with effort. The password screen appeared, and Evan tried the obvious choices: birthdays, anniversaries. Nothing. Try their wedding date, I suggested, remembering how Gary always made a show of remembering it. 07142-017. The desktop loaded immediately. The organization was meticulous, almost obsessive. Folders within folders, labeled by year and month. But it was the Excel file named Household Revenues that made my blood run cold. Jesus Christ, Evan breathed. The spreadsheet had multiple tabs. NB accounts contained everything my credit card limits: statement closing dates, payment due dates, average balances. A column marked travel schedule matched my work calendar perfectly. Notes in cells: Dallas conference, 4 days, mail pickup window, and Portland training, perfect for loan apps. Look at this formula. Evan pointed to a calculated cell. He's tracking your theoretical maximum credit availability in real time. Another tab, signature evolution. Screenshots of my signature from documents spanning years. High school transcripts, college applications, birthday cards, recent receipts. Annotations showed which signatures worked best for different document types. This is insane, I said. The planning, the detail. Natalie. Evan had opened the email client. You need to see this. The search for Mitchell returned dozens of messages. Gary's writing style was careful, almost formal, but the content was damning. From Gary Bolton to Mitchell Crane. Subject: read tomorrow's applications. Time 11:43 p.m. M. Use the graduation card signature for all three. It's got the cleanest loops, less likely to flag the system. I've attached the high-res scan. Remember, mark them as verified in person. The $5K will hit your account by Thursday. Mitchell's response was equally incriminating. From Mitchell Crane to Gary Bolton. Subject: read tomorrow's applications. Time 11:51 p. Understood. I'll process them during the lunch rush when Peter's covering the main floor. Should I use the same addresses as last time? Also, Marjorie's note about using the emotional instability angle if she pushes back, that's smart. I can flag her account with customer relations concerns to discredit future complaints. I photographed everything with my phone while Evan copied files to a flash drive. Then we found the folder labeled Insurance Plays. "Oh my God," I whispered. Detailed notes about Dad's life insurance policy. Timeline of when to file the beneficiary change. Forged medical power of attorney documents. And worst of all, a draft email to a lawyer about having me declared mentally incompetent. Dated 3 years ago, but never sent. "They've been planning to destroy you for years," Evan said quietly. "This isn't just fraud, it's systematic destruction." A car door slammed outside. We both froze. "Marjorie's Lexus," Evan confirmed, peering through the blinds. Book club must have ended early. We had maybe 30 seconds. Evan yanked the flash drive free while I closed all programs, clearing the recent documents list. The front door key rattled in the lock as we slipped out the back. Gary's laptop back in its dusty hiding spot. We made it to Evan's car just as Marjorie entered the house. My phone buzzed, Dana calling. "I'm forwarding everything now," I told her, still breathing hard. "Email evidence, spreadsheets, signature samples, everything." "This is a gift," Dana said. "Prosecutors dream of this level of documentation." Gary created a prosecution roadmap. "Can you send me the metadata too? We need to prove when these files were created and modified." "Already included," Evan said, pulling away from the curb. "The signature evolution spreadsheet was started 4 years ago. Last modified yesterday." "Yesterday?" Dana's voice sharpened. "After the confrontation at the bank." I checked the timestamp. 11:27 p.m. last night. He added a new column, Legal Response Strategy. "He's planning his counterattack. Good. Let him plan. He's planning based on the assumption you'll back down. That family shame will silence you." Dana paused. "He's about to learn otherwise." "I'm calling Alicia Warren at the prosecutor's office now. With this evidence, we're looking at federal charges. This crosses state lines with the wire fraud." As Evan drove us back to my apartment, I stared at the files on my phone. Years of meticulous planning to rob me, documented in spreadsheet cells and email threads. "You know what the sick part is," I said. "The effort he put into this, he could have earned this money legitimately in the same time." "It was never about money," Evan replied. "It was about control, about keeping you small." The spreadsheet's last entry was dated today. "In discovering loans, initiate discredit protocol." They thought they'd prepared for everything, but they'd prepared for the Natalie who stayed quiet, who prioritized family peace over justice. That Natalie died the moment Gary grabbed me in that bank. Sunday afternoon painted Sycamore Street in golden light. The kind of light that made everything look peaceful, pastoral, perfect for what I had planned. Evan and I had chosen 4:30 p.m. deliberately. The Hendersons would be gardening. Mrs. Chin would be on her porch with her book. The Marino kids would be playing street hockey. Maximum witnesses. I rang the doorbell of my childhood home like a stranger. Evan stood beside me, phone ready, recording everything. The folder in my hands contained copies never originals of every damning document. Gary answered, his expression shifting from surprise to calculation in seconds. "Natalie, this is unexpected. We need to talk. Outside." "Come in. We can discuss this privately." "No." I stepped back, ensuring I remained on the public sidewalk. "Here is fine. Unless you'd prefer I go door to door sharing what I've discovered." Marjorie appeared behind him, her Sunday church dress still pristine. What's this about? I opened the folder, pulling out the first document loud enough for the neighbors to hear paper rustling. Account number ending in 4739. Opened January 15th. $15,000. Signature forged using my high school graduation card. Mrs. Chin had looked up from her book. Keep your voice down, Gary hissed. Account number ending in 8216. I raised my voice instead. Opened January 17th. $18,000. Mitchell Crane received $5,000 to override verification. The Marino kids had stopped playing, their parents emerging to see the commotion. You're having an episode, Marjorie announced loudly. Everyone can see you're unstable. Email dated January 14th, 11:43 p.m. I read from the printout. Quote, use the graduation card signature for all three. It's got the cleanest loops. Sent from Gary Bolton to Mitchell Crane. Gary lunged forward, grabbing for the papers. Evan stepped between us, and Gary stopped, remembering the witnesses. This is family business, he growled. Fraud is criminal business. I pulled out the next document. Spreadsheet titled NB Accounts. Created 4 years ago. Last modified after you assaulted me at the bank. Column headers include my credit limits, travel schedule, and signature samples. Mr. Henderson had abandoned his roses entirely, pruning shears hanging forgotten in his hand. I'm calling the police, Marjorie threatened, pulling out her phone. Please do, I smiled. I have a restraining order to serve anyway. Dana had prepared 2 copies of the emergency protection order. I held them out. You can accept service voluntarily, or we can have the sheriff do it publicly. Your choice. The street had gone silent except for the distant sound of a lawnmower. Every neighbor watched, waiting. Gary's face had turned purple. You ungrateful after everything we've done. What you've done is commit $58,000 in fraud. What you've done is document your crimes in spreadsheets and emails. What you've done is bribe a bank employee. I kept my voice steady, clear, carrying. And what you're going to do now is stay away from me. She's lying, Marjorie's voice cracked, desperate. She's always been jealous, vindictive. Screenshot of your P.O. box rental agreement. I continued, pulling out another page. Used to redirect my mail during business trips. Your name on the lease. Mrs. Chen was now standing at her fence. Book forgotten. The Marino parents had moved closer, pretending to check their mailbox. Sign the acknowledgement, Evan said quietly to Gary. Or this gets worse. Gary's hand shook as he signed the restraining order receipt. The moment his pen lifted, I stepped back. 200 feet minimum distance, no contact through third parties. And Gary. I met his eyes directly. Shh, your laptop's metadata shows you accessed those spreadsheets at 11:27 last night. After the protection order was filed, that's criminal contempt. You were in our house, Marjorie shrieked. You broke in. I used my key to retrieve my belongings. The laptop happened to be open. I smiled sweetly. Evan has video of the entire legal entry. The Hendersons' doorbell camera would have caught us too. I knew. All legitimate, all legal. This isn't over, Gary said, but his voice had lost its menace. He looked smaller somehow, diminished in the afternoon sun with the neighborhood watching. You're right. Federal prosecutors will be in touch tomorrow. The FBI takes wire fraud seriously. I turned to address the watching neighbors directly. I apologize for the disturbance. I just wanted everyone to know why you might see law enforcement here soon. As we walked back to Evan's car, I heard Mrs. Chen's voice carry clearly. I always knew something was off about them. The Whisper Network would do the rest. By evening, every house on Sycamore Street would know Gary and Marjorie Bolton were under federal investigation for fraud. That was beautiful, Evan said as we drove away. I looked back at the house where I'd grown up, where they'd plotted my destruction over morning coffee and spreadsheets. Tonight, that house still stood, but the power inside had shifted. They'd lost their greatest weapon, the silence of their victim. The smell hit me first spray paint, acidic and fresh. My apartment door stood slightly ajar. The frame splintered where someone had forced entry. Red paint dripped down the hallway wall. Family first in jagged letters that looked like wounds. I didn't go inside. Instead, I called Evan, then Dana, then the police, in that order. "Don't touch anything," Dana instructed. "This is witness intimidation on top of breaking and entering." "Are there cameras?" "Building entrance and hallway?" I confirmed, standing at the stairwell, watching my violated door from a distance. Inside was worse. Every drawer dumped, papers scattered like snow. My filing cabinet had been pried open with something heavy, probably the crowbar left discarded on my kitchen floor. The paint continued across my living room wall. Ungrateful and liar and blood traitor. Officer Martinez documented everything while the forensic tech dusted for prints. Any idea who did this? Gary Bolton, my stepfather. There's a restraining order. Filed yesterday. Martinez checked his tablet. This is a clear violation. We'll pull the building security footage. My neighbor, elderly Mr. Patterson, shuffled over in his slippers. That man was here around 2 a.m. I heard noises, looked through my peephole. Big fellow, navy jacket. He was carrying something. 2 a.m. 5 hours after the confrontation on Sycamore Street. My phone buzzed. Dana, building manager, sent footage. It's grainy but shows Gary's truck and partial plate. Enough for arrest warrant. Then, Evan, just installed cameras at Mom and Gary's. He doesn't know. Already caught something. The forensic tech found more than prints. Looks like he was searching for something specific. See how the papers are sorted. He went through methodically, not randomly. Looking closer, I realized what was missing: the originals of his emails, the spreadsheets, anything that could be used against him. Except I'd never kept originals here. Everything was in Dana's office safe and backed up to secure cloud storage. Alicia Warren, the prosecutor, arrived within the hour. This escalates everything. Federal judges don't appreciate witness intimidation. She surveyed the damage. We're expediting the asset freeze. By tomorrow morning, every account they have will be locked. My phone rang Marjorie's number. I put it on speaker for the officers. "How dare you?" she started, voice shrill. "Gary's been arrested at his job site, in front of his crew. He violated the restraining order. Family doesn't do this to family. I'm filing a mental health petition. You're clearly having a psychotic break. Dr. Morrison agrees. Dr. Morrison, who hasn't been my doctor since I was 16. I kept my voice calm for the recording. Are you admitting to discussing my fabricated medical conditions with someone pretending to be my physician?" Silence. Then, "You've destroyed this family." "No. Marjorie, you destroyed it the day you started stealing from your own daughter." She hung up. Alicia made notes. Attempted fraud with a medical professional. Add it to the charges. By 6 p.m., my apartment was a crime scene wrapped in yellow tape. Evan had arranged a hotel, but first, he wanted to show me something. On his laptop, footage from the camera he'd installed at our family's lake cabin, Gary's thinking spot when stressed. Timestamp 5:32 a.m. Gary, clearly drunk, smashing outdoor furniture with a baseball bat. Audio caught him ranting about teaching her a lesson and making her pay. "He doesn't know about the camera," Evan said. "I installed it yesterday when I went to check on the property. He's been going there to plan." Dana called with updates. Mitchell Crane flipped. Full cooperation in exchange for reduced charges. He's providing everything: dates, amounts, Gary's exact words during their planning sessions. What about Horizon Valley? Conducting internal audit, Peter Halbrook found 6 more suspicious accounts Mitchell handled. Not fraud, but definite improprieties. They're cooperating fully to limit liability. That night, in the hotel, I sat surrounded by printed emails and legal documents. My phone had 17 missed calls from extended family. Marjorie's flying monkeys deployed to guilt me into dropping charges. I didn't listen to any voicemails. Instead, I studied the pattern of escalation spreadsheet planning to fraud execution to violent intimidation. Each step documented, witnessed, recorded. "They're getting desperate," Evan observed. reading the latest text from our aunt calling me a disgrace to your father's memory. Good, I replied. Desperate people make mistakes. Through the hotel window, the city lights sparkled indifferently. Tomorrow, federal marshals would serve additional warrants. Tomorrow, Gary would learn that his thinking spot had been surveilled. Tomorrow, the asset freeze would prevent them from accessing a single penny. But tonight, I sat in a hotel because my home had been violated, my walls painted with their rage. The paint would wash off. The damage they'd done to themselves was permanent. The private dining room at Harbor Light glowed with soft amber light. 8 p.m. on a Thursday, exactly 1 week after my promotion party. This time, I'd chosen the venue, the guest list, and most importantly, the hidden cameras. Dana had coached me carefully. Make it irresistible, something they can't pass up. So I'd leaked through a mutual acquaintance that tonight I was presenting my bonus check to Ridge and Arrow's Charity Foundation, a public gesture of gratitude. The story spread exactly as planned, Marjorie heard through her church friend whose daughter worked in our HR department. Alicia Warren sat 3 tables away in the main dining room, dressed like a tourist. 2 plainclothes officers posed as a couple celebrating an anniversary. The restaurant's security team, briefed by Dana, had cameras recording from 4 angles. I'd just stood to address my colleagues when they arrived. Such a beautiful gesture. Natalie. Marjorie's voice cut through the room like broken glass. She wore her best dress, the one she saved for making impressions. Gary followed, his bail restrictions apparently forgotten. You weren't invited, I said clearly, ensuring the microphone caught every word. Family is always invited. Gary moved closer, his bulk intentional, threatening. Especially when family money is being given away. My colleagues shifted uncomfortably. Derek from accounting started recording on his phone. Good, more evidence. Interesting you mentioned family money. I held up the check, keeping it just out of reach. This bonus was earned through my work, my promotion. Built on the education we provided, Marjorie announced to the room. The sacrifices we made, and now she gives it to strangers instead of family. Gary had positioned himself between me and the exit. Classic intimidation. Just sign it over. Natalie, stop this performance. Like you forged my signature on those loans. His face flushed. You're having another episode. Everyone can see it. What everyone can see, I said, loud enough for every camera, is you violating your restraining order. Again. Gary lunged for the check. His hand caught my wrist first, twisting hard enough that I cried out genuine pain, perfectly captured on camera. When I didn't let go, his other hand struck my collarbone, shoving me back against the table. Give it to me. Spittle flew from his mouth. You owe us everything. The check tore as we struggled. Glasses shattered on the floor. Marjorie screamed about my mental breakdown, while Gary's grip tightened enough to leave marks. I gave the hand signal, scratching my ear twice. The transformation was instant. Alicia Warren entered with 3 uniformed officers. The plainclothes cops stood, badges visible. The soft restaurant lighting suddenly seemed harsh as handcuffs clicked around Gary's wrists. Gary Bolton, you're under arrest for assault, battery, attempted robbery, and violation of a protective order. The officer's voice was perfectly professional. You have the right to remain silent. This is entrapment, Marjorie shrieked. Ha, she set us up. I invited colleagues to a charity dinner, I said calmly, rubbing my wrist where bruises were already forming. You crashed it and assaulted me. Again. Alicia stepped forward with another officer. Marjorie Bolton, you're also under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud and witness intimidation. The room had gone silent except for the sound of Miranda rights being read. My colleagues watched in stunned fascination as my stepfather and mother were led out in handcuffs. Derek broke the silence. Jesus, Natalie, your own parents. They stopped being my parents the day they started stealing from me. The restaurant manager approached with the security footage already downloaded to a flash drive. Everything from the moment they entered, 4 angles, with audio. Dana arrived as crime scene photos were being taken of my injuries. Beautiful work. The hand signal was perfectly timed. Will it stick? I asked. Assault with witnesses. Attempted robbery on camera. Violating bail conditions. She smiled. This isn't just sticking. This is federal prison time. Peter Halbrook had been waiting in the main dining room. He approached with papers. Ms. Brooks, Horizon Valley wants you to know that all fraudulent accounts have been frozen. The money will be recovered and returned to you with interest. My phone buzzed with a text from Evan, watching the arrest from across the street. Got Gary shouting threats in the parking lot. More evidence. As the room slowly returned to normal, colleagues approaching with support and shock, I looked at the torn bonus check on the floor. $4,300 the bait that had cost them everything. You planned all this, Derek said. Not quite a question. They wanted my money so badly they couldn't resist one more grab, I replied. Even with federal charges pending, even with restraining orders, their greed was predictable. The private dining room still smelled faintly of Marjorie's perfume, too sweet, like rotting flowers. But now it mixed with the metallic scent of handcuffs and the sharp tang of justice. They'd thought I was performing when I stood up to them. Tonight, they learned I was just getting started. The federal courthouse at 9A, sharp, felt like walking into a cathedral of consequences. Judge Ruth Calder presided from her bench, her expression carved from granite as she reviewed the evidence laid out before her. Dana had transformed the courtroom into a gallery of crimes. 3 easels held blown-up displays the timeline, the email chains, the spreadsheet, each document connected with red string to the next, creating a web that trapped Gary and Marjorie at its center. Your Honor, Alicia Warren began, the prosecution presents evidence of systematic fraud spanning 7 years. The defendants created elaborate schemes to steal not just money, but their victims' identity and future. Mitchell Crane took the stand first, his plea deal requiring full cooperation. His voice shook as he detailed every conversation, every bribe, every override code he'd entered at Gary's instruction. He said she'd never fight back, Mitchell testified. Said family shame would keep her quiet. He laughed about it. Peter Halbrook followed, presenting the bank's audit findings. The signature disparities are obvious when examined properly. Mr. Crane deliberately bypassed 17 security protocols. Then came the PowerPoint, my favorite part. Dana clicked through each slide with surgical precision. Gary's spreadsheet appeared on the courtroom monitor, enlarged so everyone could read his notes. In vacation Dallas, perfect window, and high school signature still works better. Objection. Gary's public defender tried. Obtained without warrant. Overruled. Judge Calder cut him off. The defendant's laptop was accessed legally with a valid key to the residence. The email evidence followed. Each message between Gary and Mitchell time-stamped, authenticated, undeniable. Marjorie's P.O. Box documentation, the mail theft, the forged insurance documents. The defendants didn't just steal money, Alicia continued. They built a criminal enterprise dedicated to destroying their daughter's financial future. The video evidence came next. First, Gary grabbing me at the bank security footage, multiple angles. Then the Harbor Light assault, crystal clear with audio. His voice booming, "You owe us everything." The sound of glass breaking, my cry of pain. Gary couldn't watch. He kept his head down, hands clenched on the defense table. But the cabin footage was the killing blow. Gary, drunk at 5:32 a.m., smashing furniture while ranting, "I'll make her pay. Take everything. She'll have nothing when I'm done." Your Honor. Dana stood for our civil argument. We request immediate asset forfeiture and full restitution. The defendants have shown repeated violence and willingness to continue their crimes despite legal intervention. Judge Calder had heard enough. Mr. Bolton, Mrs. Bolton, please stand. They rose slowly. Marjorie still wearing her church dress. Gary in an ill-fitting suit. In 37 years on this bench, I've rarely seen such calculated cruelty between family members. You didn't just steal money, you attempted to steal your daughter's identity, her future, her sense of safety. She turned to Gary first. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud, identity theft, assault, witness intimidation, violation of protective order. The federal sentencing guidelines suggest 8 to 10 years. I'm inclined toward the maximum. Marjorie gasped. Gary's legs seemed to buckle. Mrs. Bolton, your crimes include conspiracy, mail fraud, and intimidation. 5 to 7 years consideration. But more immediately, Judge Calder continued, I'm granting the emergency asset freeze. All property, accounts, and holdings are hereby frozen pending full restitution to Ms. Brooks, the amount of $73,000 including damages and interest. The gavel came down with finality, but the moment that would replay in my mind forever came next. As the federal marshals approached with handcuffs, not the temporary ones from arrest, but the permanent shackles of convicted felons, Gary turned to look for allies in the courtroom. He found none. His contractor buddies hadn't come. Marjorie's church friends were absent. Even their lawyer was already packing his briefcase. The sound of those handcuffs clicking closed echoed through the courtroom. Metal on metal, final and absolute. Gary Bolton, the man who'd controlled my life through fear and fraud, shuffled toward federal custody in chains. Marjorie wept as they cuffed her, mascara running in black rivers. Family doesn't do this, she screamed. You're right, I said, my voice carrying across the courtroom. Family doesn't. As they led them away, I stood between Dana and Evan, watching the door close behind the two people who'd spent years building a trap for me. They'd forgotten one thing in all their planning, all their spreadsheets and schemes. They'd taught me to be stronger than they ever imagined. The courthouse steps were bright with morning sun. My bruises were fading, my credit would recover. And somewhere in federal processing, two criminals were learning that family bonds aren't licenses for exploitation. Justice doesn't always come wrapped in vindication. Sometimes it comes in the quiet click of handcuffs and the certainty that the trap they built had only caught themselves. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Your experiences and perspectives mean everything to this community.